Welcome to The Good Ride. I'm James Beastie, and I'm skipping the cheeky intro because I want to get right to talking about the new Never Summer Proto Type 3 for 2026 that's replacing the Proto Synthesis. This is a completely different board from the Proto Synthesis because it has their new recurve camber profile with passive bends here in the middle. It feels like more camber than it looks, and it's one of my personal favorites when it comes to hybrid camber. Then it's got setback inserts. They call them blower, I call them setback. They're great for getting more directional float in powder. It has a different carbon inlay than it had in the past. So overall, it's a very different ride, but it's gone from being a very good, very recommendable mountain freestyle ride to now being truly an all-mountain board that you can ride centered on groomers and have a mountain freestyle twin, but then set it back in powder and have pretty good directional float. On top of it, it has a decent base and exceptional grip for hard snow that I think a lot of people will really appreciate who ride out east, but also head out west and don't want that grabby feel in hard snow. So I rode this with Union Force bindings and Nitro Team TLS boots primarily, and I compared this against a wide variety of all-mountain to all-mountain freestyle boards. And I got this in a wide variety of conditions, everything from some pretty deep powder to some good groomers to some hard snow and everything in between. This is a full-on, in-depth, honest review from an average rider's perspective. And I can do that thanks to my sponsor, Blower Board Shop. They've been selling to snowboarders longer than most resorts have been allowing snowboarders. They're family run. They've got a large online presence, great pricing, customer service, and shipping. So if you want to support honest, objective reviews and a shop that's been helping snowboarders for decades upon decades, click through our links to Blower Board Shop and spend your hard-earned money if what we reviewed appeals to you. It would be greatly appreciated. As far as sizing goes, this is my size. I don't really want to size up, especially for a twin, and I definitely don't want to size down. This was the perfect size for me. Now, when it comes to shape, this is a true twin with a centered stance. Now, if you want to use the setback inserts and get all the way back, you can get 2.75 inches back from center of board with a 22-inch stance width. So it really changes up this ride from being a mountain freestyle twin that you just set up one way and leave it, to a board that you can set back on a powder day and get much better, easier directional float and less rear leg burn. Now let's talk camber profile. This new recurve camber profile is one of my favorites out there just because it's cambered well past the inserts with a good bit of early rise, but then you have these passive bends instead of active bends like their Fusion triple camber. So it actually feels longer than the camber profile really is and pops and springs more, but still feels very stable, just like full camber. It's excellent one footing and flat basing down a long flat cat track, but it has the forgiveness that camber doesn't, and it's a very easy board for most people to ride. Committed beginners could do this, maybe take a lump or two, but it's pretty stable and forgiving. Intermediates to experts will have a blast with this. It won't be boring for experts, and it won't be too challenging for intermediates. So when it comes to edge hold, let's just say this: it's excellent. It grips like full-on aggressive magnet traction from Mervin. However, it does not grab in soft snow, and it does this because of two things. Number one, there's a multi-radius side cut here that allows leverage in the right places, but here's the real kicker. You have camber past the inserts, but easy to leverage, and then when this is weighted down, these passive bends come into play and help with grip. If you live on the East Coast, you head out west, and you want a board for both, this is an excellent choice. And while it's much more than just a hard snow favorite, this is a do-anything board, but it rips in hard snow. And other than really deep powder, there isn't a condition this board can't handle. Let's talk Proto Type 3 Flex. It's got a nice, pretty poppy, medium flex to it. If you get down into the tip and tail, It's pretty soft in this region here where it transitions into rocker, and then as you get into the camber zone, it stiffens up a good bit. And the flex between the feet is the stiffest part of this board, and then it softens up near the tip and tail. It's a little different than a lot of Never Summer boards that are often easier to flex here and a little stiffer in the tip and tail. So this new construction has these carbon inlays in the nose and tail, and then there are 2 strips of carbon that run from tip to tail throughout the center. So this makes this a little softer torsionally, a little easier to twist, but still has lots of pop and lots of drive while still being very easy to butter. This mellow nose and tail really lock in on a butter and make it feel very stable and easy to do. This recurve triple camber loads up a lot more than you would think for what seems like a pretty mellow camber profile. These passive bends really helped me ollie, and while it's not the poppiest of boards, it's that perfect balance between being very forgiving and very poppy. This was so fun on side hits all around the mountain, but if you wanted to go into the park and throw down on any size kicker, this will be just fine. If you want to throw it around switch, it's a true twin. All you have to do is be centered on the board and it'll be great. This is the kind of board I'd love to ride pipe with, and while it's not the best jibber, it can be done if you want to. This is a great board for hard, uneven snow, and it handled soft, tracked up, thick, messy, uneven powder days very well too, as well as uneven snow days I rode this in. And while it's not going to hammer through chunder like an ultra stiff freeride board, it's an excellent all-day ride, and Never Summer, in my opinion, underrates their dampness in comparison to the rest of the industry. Now, when it comes to turning, this is a really fun board. As the day progressed and conditions got more challenging and uneven, this just held its form for me. And when I really wanted to drive a hard turn of any kind of radius, it had great spring out of the turn, way more than you would think for this mellow, forgiving camber profile. And while the side cut is a little on the turny side of balance, I could make any radius turn from a decent circle carve, not amazing, great across the groomer carves, excellent medium radius turns. And when I started to flirt with those longer, drawn out, down the line turns, or straight lines, this did much better than I thought for having a side cut that seems a little deep. This will track into kickers of any size, but it could also handle a pretty sustained straight line. Base glide was pretty good. The base can get a little thirsty and dry, but it holds its wax pretty well, but not amazingly well, and depending on how you ride, you could probably make it through a week before you need to really wax it again. Not a huge fan of the die cut, but they do it so well I don't even feel it. And when it comes to powder, I got this in all kinds of powder, including some pretty deep, challenging powder. I think it was like 1.5 feet, 2 feet. It wasn't that light and fluffy. And with these setback inserts, I could survive, where if this was the old Proto and I was centered on board, I would have cartwheeled once or twice for sure, and I would have had a really burning back leg. This changes the game as making this truly a one-board quiver, because these setback inserts allow you to get a little taste of what it's like to be on a freeride board. And this actually has more setback on board than the Proto Freeride and the Never Summer Eclipse. They do float a little better because they're tapered, directional, they have a longer nose than tail, etc. But it was amazing to see how close this came to those boards, and it made me wish those boards had setback inserts as well. So huge improvement for powder. And you can see there's lots of early rise, and the way this nose and tail angles up, it really planes well in powder and allows you to keep your speed really well. Then on top of it, if you don't want to do the setback insert thing like I love to do, this will ride very well for a true twin if you like a centered approach to powder riding. So don't think these setback inserts are 100% necessary. If you want to dabble with a little of both, you can with this board. So overall, I don't want to send this back. Let's just put it that way. I love boards like this. I'm not a ripper, but I love to do a little bit of everything. And this is the kind of board I can do it all with. And if I'm traveling and I just have this board and I'm caught with a powder day, as long as it's not too deep, it's going to be okay now. Where before with the Proto synthesis and the previous Protos, I always felt like I needed an extra board along with it. So there you have it, one of my highlights for 2026.